From gang beefs to some of the most brutal serial killers in history, Fort Worth, Texas is so brutal that some locals call it Murder Worth. And today we're breaking down the craziest stories from the city. Fort Worth is one of the deadliest cities in America, but it actually started out as an army post back in 1849, which is where the name came from. Cowboys brought in a lot of violence to the town, and people were getting stabbed and shot basically every night. Fort Worth became famous for prostitution, gambling, and murder, and that basically never changed. Fort Worth always had a lot of crime, but it got so bad in the 80s that people started calling it Murder Worth. At one point, Fort Worth became the murder capital of America for a little while, and the violence really went crazy after crack cocaine took over the city. The streets in Fort Worth have some of the deadliest beefs in America, and the gangs down there have been tearing up the city since the 80s. A lot of blood and crip sets came to Texas from California, but these days it's way more complicated than just what color you bang. YTN is one of the biggest crews on the south side of Fort Worth. They're an alliance between a bunch of crip sets like the Faux Trey Gangsta Crips, the Phi Deuce Hoovers, and the Fofo Gangsta Hardheads, and they were sliding on ops so much that they started calling themselves Murder Gang. YTN allegedly left a lot of people dead in the streets, and they were also the crew that sparked one of the craziest shootings in Fort Worth history. On Mother's Day in 2020, over 400 people showed up to a party at Village Creek Park in Fort Worth. The city had social distancing rules because it was in the middle of the pandemic, so the cops showed up to make everybody leave. The police used a sound system called a howler to break up the crowd. But what really sent everyone running was when YTN and another crew got into a shootout. There's a bunch of rumors about what sparked the situation, but it allegedly started when a dude named J-Dub got killed. J-Dub was allegedly sighted on the ops and got killed, but nobody knows who pulled the trigger on him. J-Dub was found with a t-shirt wrapped around his face and a Draco laying next to his body, and he got killed by a headshot on the south side of the city. Rumors said that he tried to kill somebody and got caught first, but other people think his own homie accidentally killed him when they were sliding together. J-Dub was allegedly affiliated with a crew called Ape Gang, and they had issues with YTN. There's no evidence that YTN was involved with J-Dub getting killed, but tensions were already high, and J-Dub's death made the situation even worse. According to rumors, J-Dub's brothers Quan and Hussein started sliding on YTN after J-Dub got killed. So when some YTN members showed up at the Mother's Day party in Village Creek Park, everyone knew there might be some trouble. According to witnesses, the YTN dudes walked all around the party and were mean mugging some Ape Gang affiliates. Nothing happened at first and the YTN dudes left, but they're about to come back with a bunch of guns. The YTN crew left the party and met up at a donut shop about half a mile down the street. Then a few minutes later, they pulled back up to the party and everyone started shooting. There were over 400 people in the crowd and the cops were already at the scene, but that didn't stop YTN and Ape Gang from shooting. YTN Cash and YTN Cheese allegedly started shooting first. Then Ape Gang busted back and hit both of them. YTN also beefs with a set called EBK. A lot of dudes from different cities rep EBK, aka Everybody Killer. But in Fort Worth, EBK is a renegade set with a bunch of Bloods and some Crips that are mostly from an area called Stop 6. Stop 6 is one of the craziest places in Fort Worth, and you always gotta be ready for smoke if you wanna survive out there. EBK's most famous member is a dude named EBK D-Glock. D-Glock started rapping and had some buzz on his name in Fort Worth, but he was allegedly putting in a ton of work in the trenches and got booked for killing a YTN member named Big Head Chris. YTN took more losses when Lil Nuby and WAP both got killed in a robbery that went wrong. According to reports, Nuby, WAP, and another YTN affiliate tried to set up a dude from EBK named MB and rob him, but the situation went left and everyone involved in it ended up dying. MB allegedly upped the strap on the YTN dudes when they tried to rob him, even though he was way outnumbered. MB hit all three of them, but then the YTN crew busted back and hit MB too, and by the time the cops rode up to the scene, all four of them were dead. Most people outside of Fort Worth don't know about the war going on in the streets, but now there's a new wave of drill rappers who are airing everything out in the booth. One of the hottest drill rappers from Fort Worth right now is a dude named Lil CJ Casino. CJ Casino used to be cool with Ape Gang, and on the track We Own That, he raps, Ape Gang, we own that. Gorilla Gang, we own that. Running your trap, where that dope at? Show some respect, cause you know you don't want that. But according to rumors, CJ Casino fell out with Ape Gang cause J-Dub snatched his chain. J-Dub ended up getting killed not too long after that went down, but J-Dub isn't the only Fort Worth rapper that CJ Casino fell out with. Back in the day, CJ Casino was tied with a rapper named Go Yayo. Go Yayo started a whole wave in Fort Worth and kicked down the doors for a lot of other rappers from the city, but he's been involved with some crazy beef too. A lot of people outside of Fort Worth heard about Go Yayo for the first time after he started beefing with a rapper from Dallas named Mo3. According to Mo3's homie Brian Rainwater, Go Yayo was pressed because Mo3 was popping off in the rap game and got booked for a show in Fort Worth. Go Yayo allegedly couldn't get any shows booked in his own city, and that's why he got heated about the situation. It's not clear how everything went down, But Go Yayo and his Hood Fame crew went to the club where Mo3 was performing, and their crews got into a shootout that kills an innocent dude. The beef with Go Yayo and Mo3 also started a lot of drama in Dallas, cause Go Yayo featured a bunch of Dallas rappers on his track Six Pick and left Mo3 off of it. CJ Casino was on the track with Go Yayo, and so was Go Yayo's homie Lil Ronnie. And nobody expected how the situation was gonna take a crazy turn and get Sauce Walka wrapped up in it too. Sauce Walka's from Houston, but he tapped into Fort Worth too and signed CJ Casino. Then in 2021, Go Yayo did Sauce Walka and CJ Casino on the track No Quits and raps, "Stop comparing me to CJ. He a bitch and I'm a savage. All that white gold in your jewelry, that's that cheap shit. Colors in your diamonds, boy, that shit look like some sweet shit. Crazy boy just talking. He ain't really on no beef shit. I used to fuck with Sauce, but he always on some weak shit." After that, Sauce Walka jumped into the beef and dissed Go Yayo's homie Bram Bram. Go Yayo had been beefing with some dudes from Scoot Up Gang and Gas Gang, and they allegedly slid on Go Yayo while he was in Houston. Go Yayo survived the situation, but his homie Bram Bram got killed right in front of him. Scoot Up Gang also has ties to Sauce Walka's crew, the Sauce Factory, aka TSF. Sauce Walka's beef with Go Yayo never seemed that serious, but then in 2025, Sauce Walka almost got killed, and rumors started flying that Go Yayo was involved with the situation. Sauce Walka was in Memphis with his homie Say So P when some shooters pulled up and shot both of them. Sauce Walka got hit in the leg and had to be rushed to the hospital, but his homie Say So P was tragically killed on the spot. When news broke about the shooting, rumors were going around that it was a robbery gone wrong, but after the video came out, everyone knew that it was a targeted hit, and somebody wanted to kill either Sauce Walka or Say So P. Sauce Walka said that the shooters could have killed him if they wanted to, but they let him live.
As fucked up as the situation is, and I could have lost my life and my life was put in danger, it wasn't intentionally for me. And motherfucker could have took my life and they didn't.
Say So P is from Memphis, and rumors say he got killed because he took $200K from some Memphis goons. But now all kinds of stories are going around because one of the shooters ended up getting killed in Sauce Walka's hometown of Houston. Sauce Walka said he wasn't gonna slide for Say So P, but after the shooter got killed in Houston, Sauce Walka posted a pic flexing a bunch of cash in front of the hospital. Some people think someone from Texas put a bag on Sauce Walka's head and they try to collect it in Memphis, and now Go Yayo's name is getting dragged into it. There's no evidence that Go Yayo was involved at all though. The alleged shooter got killed in Texas, but nobody knows if he's even from there, and there's a good chance he's from Memphis and just did the race after the Say So P murder. Sauce Walka also said he never wanted to beef with Go Yayo because he wanted to bring everyone in Texas together.
I was disappointed at what Texas could have became if all my little brothers because my real goal was to bring all of Fort Worth together. The CJs, the Bugattis, the Yayos, they all together. They was like a little TSF to me. They had potential to be what we is or be another bird, to be greater, fuck it, whatever. I'm happy for them. I wanted to see it happen.
And in 2023, Go Yayo's homie Murder Gang PB dropped the track Houston We Have a Problem and raps, "Houston, we got a problem. Rewind the tape, let's set the record straight. Yayo and Sauce Walka, I can remember this shit like yesterday. South by Southwest reppin' Texas, thought we was gonna elevate. Say Cheese made a list, and after that, it's like we segregated. Now I ain't blaming Sean Cotton, but Texas could have been poppin' if TSF, Hood Fame, and Murder Gang was still rockin'." Go Yayo has no connection to the Sauce Walka situation, but his own homie just got killed in a brutal way in Fort Worth. On March 3rd, 2025, Go Yayo's homie Lil Ronnie was at a car wash with his daughter on Forest Hill Drive. It was 10:50 in the morning, and Lil Ronnie was just trying to clean his whip. But what he didn't know was that two shooters had followed him to the car wash. The goons got out of their whip and started shooting, and Lil Ronnie tried to take off on foot. There was a fence in the way that he couldn't climb though, and the shooters walked him down and left him dead at the scene. The cops booked the shooters right after the hit went down, but nobody knows why they wanted to kill Lil Ronnie. Some people think CJ Casino was involved with it though, and a video went viral where he was talking about killing his ops' whole family if they get in the way.
Your mama gonna die, your sister gonna die, your little brother in the room trying to TikTok, he gonna die. That's just a plan, cause a lot of niggas go out here, go to plan and hiding and doing all that. On blood, go to plan and hiding and doing all that extra shit. When your mama and your family and shit still in the hood, that ain't gonna go, my nigga. We gonna lay everybody down. Everybody got it down, don't give a damn what you talking about. We shooting up houses, we don't give a damn who the fuck in that bitch get hit, we don't give a damn. Everybody get hit, your granny on the dialysis machine, whatever the fuck. Everybody gotta die, man. That's just how shit go in the streets.
Forest Hills is a wild place in Fort Worth, and a month before Lil Ronnie got killed, a dude named Fael Araguen was booked for killing two people he used to work with at a car lot. And just a few days after that, an innocent woman was standing by the fire pit in her backyard when somebody started shooting on the street and killed her with a stray bullet. The cops caught the dudes who allegedly killed Lil Ronnie and his daughter, but most murder victims never get justice in Fort Worth. The cops in Fort Worth have thousands of cold cases they never solved, and people in the city say they don't even try to solve them. A dude named Scotty Choice's mother was murdered in an abandoned apartment building, and he said the police won't even answer the phone or call you back if you leave a message. There's been a lot of gang violence in Fort Worth since the 80s, but Murderworth is also famous for having some of the most brutal serial killers in America. Jason Thornburg was born in California, but he moved to Fort Worth and had the whole city terrified. Back in 2021, Jason Thornburg brutally murdered 3 people in 1 week and cut them into pieces. But that's not even the worst part. The first person Jason Thornburg killed was his roommate, David Luras. They were both living in a motel in Fort Worth, and Jason Thornburg slit David Luras' throat, chopped his body up into little pieces, then ate part of his heart. Then a couple days later, Jason Thornburg killed a woman named Lauren Phillips by slitting her throat. And 2 days after that, he stabbed a woman named Maricruz Mathis to death. Jason Thornburg was eating parts of the bodies, but he took the leftover parts and threw them in a dumpster. He wanted to get rid of the evidence, so he set the dumpster on fire, but that's actually what helped the cops find him. Somebody reported the dumpster fire to the police, and when they rode up to the scene, they found the 3 bodies inside and arrested Jason Thornburg a few days later, but that wasn't the end of the story. After the cops booked him for the 3 murders, Jason Thornburg confessed to killing 2 other people. He told the cops that he killed his girlfriend Tanya Begay back in 2017, and then he killed another roommate in 2021 named Mark Jewell. The cops thought Mark Jewell had died in the fire, but it turned out that Jason Thornburg had cut his throat first and then set the house on fire. Jason Thornburg said he was killing people as a human sacrifice to God. He said he wanted to be a missionary and that he had a sense of destiny that must be achieved. Fort Worth was terrified of the dude, but now he's locked up and has been sentenced to death. Fort Worth isn't even that big of a city, but for some reason, there have been all kinds of brutal killers leaving bodies in the streets. Back in 1985, there was another serial killer running around Fort Worth named Ricky Green. First, he killed a dude named Jeffrey Davis and left his body in a swamp outside of Fort Worth. Then a few months later, Ricky Green took a woman named Betty Jo Monroe to his crib. Betty Jo Monroe was a stripper and allegedly a prostitute too, and Ricky Green stabbed her 17 times and beat her to death with a hammer. Just 1 month after that, Ricky Green met a woman named Sandra Bailey at a nightclub and brought her home too. Then, Ricky Green did the same thing he did to Betty Jo Monroe and brutally killed Sandra Bailey with a knife and a hammer. For some reason, it looked like Ricky Green took some time off for killing, but a year later, he kidnapped his own friend and stabbed him to death. The cops might have never caught Ricky Green, but then his own wife turned him in. Ricky Green was married to a woman named Sharon Dollar, and she actually helped with the murders. They ended up getting divorced though, and that's when Sharon Dollar went to the cops and told them about all of the killing. Sharon Dollar claimed that Ricky Green forced her to help him, and she got off easy with just 10 years of probation. But Ricky Green got hit with a death sentence and was killed by the cops in 1997. Ricky Green probably killed even more people than he confessed to, but this next killer was even worse. Kenneth Granville came up in Fort Worth and ended up spending 2.5 years in juvie for assaulting his own brother. When he came home, Kenneth Granville got a job, joined the army, and was pretty popular in the neighborhood, but he still obviously had issues and the army kicked him out because he kept beating up other soldiers. Kenneth Granville was dating a woman named Everline Gold, and on October 8, 1974, he went to her house and murdered 2 of her sisters and 1 of her cousins too. The cops didn't think Kenneth Granville was involved with the situation though, and he started telling people that whoever did it ought to be hung. Then a few months later, Kenneth Granville brought his friend Betty Williams to his house and attacked her. Then during the middle of it, another friend named Vera Hill knocked on his door to ask Kenneth Granville a question about income tax. Kenneth Granville thought he was about to be caught, so he opened the door with a knife in his hand and stabbed Vera Hill in the chest. She fell down and Kenneth Granville kept stabbing her. Then he stabbed Betty Williams too and left her bleeding out. Kenneth Granville wasn't finished though. He drove to another friend's house and asked to use the phone. When they let Kenneth Granville inside the crib, he attacked his friend's mom and then took another woman hostage and went back to his crib. Betty Williams was still alive when Kenneth Granville got back to his house. She was trying to stop the bleeding from all the stab wounds, but Kenneth Granville told her to stop, and Betty tragically died a few minutes later. Then out of nowhere, Kenneth Granville took his hostage to his car and drove to the local church. Kenneth picked up the church's pastor with the hostage still in the car and said that he wanted to be taken out of society and didn't want to hurt anybody else. Kenneth Granville drove to the police station, took out a gun and a knife, and confessed to 7 murders on the spot. He was eventually convicted, and then 20 years later, he was put to death by lethal injection. The violence in Fort Worth just keeps getting worse, and in 2022, they hit a 27-year high murder rate. After the crack violence slowed down in the 80s and 90s, Fort Worth was a little bit safer for a few years. But now it's one of the most deadly places in America and definitely earned the name Murder Worth.